Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Latent Gamer. In our last video we talked about mastering each weapon from easiest to hardest, and I also mentioned to go more in depth on all the weapons talked about. In this video we will do exactly that. I have all of the weapons fully upgraded and mastered here, and we are going to do a deep discussion on what all of these weapons are like before and after you upgrade them. This video will showcase how strong these weapons become, the advantages you acquire through each mod, and the limitations you face from some of them. This video is primarily focused on providing information to those of you who are uncertain about the weapons you should use your upgrade kits on first, because it can be so hard to put your upgrade kits in the wrong place in the beginning. I know we all do things differently, and we all have our personal style or taste, so if I mention something that you don't agree with and you have a method or build to make it more efficient, don't forget to leave me a comment down below so we can share and learn from each other. I would really appreciate that. So starting off with rifles, the first on our list is the G43, which is a semi-automatic sniper. This is the easiest sniper to use, and I would say this is more of a noob-friendly sniper, and I say this because it was my favorite when I first started this game. It's very forgiving because it feels like a stand-in for your assault rifle when you are out of bullets. You reload very quickly, and despite the lack of damage on this weapon, you still kill most zombies with one headshot. You start off with a regular boring semi-automatic sniper, and when you start upgrading this weapon, you get an electric mod which attacks multiple zombies at once. Or you can add that damage mod which gives this weapon slightly more damage. Nothing crazy, just slightly better. For your magazine, you start off with 10 rounds in the clip, but you can expand it all the way up to 30 rounds if you choose. Or you can keep it at 20 rounds and go for a full auto sniper, which really makes this weapon interesting. Under scope, this weapon starts with no zoom, but you're able to take this all the way up to a 8x zoom and choose either a vampiric scope, which returns health on critical hits, or an electric bayonet, which electrify enemies when you melee them with a fully charged rifle. In the beginning, this weapon will be lacking in damage and bullet penetration. You do get a slight buff however after modding and mastering this weapon, and because of its high fire rate, you can definitely shred zombie hordes. But on the flip side, having a high fire rate and the lack of damage would cause you to use more bullets than necessary to take down zombies on higher difficulties. I don't see the point of using the fully auto mod though, because using the semi-auto is way more accurate on shots, but it's definitely an option that you can try out. Finally, we are at the vampiric scope. It does have a good function or skill, but I tried using this and honestly on some maps, I can't see anything when I look through the scope, which would make me change to the third person view instead. But it's definitely there as an option, and it does have a good function or skill, so you can definitely try it out and let me know if it works for you guys. Now let's talk about the M1 Garand, which is also a semi-automatic sniper, right between the G43 and the MOSIN-NAGANT. It fires really quickly like the G43, and it does a decent amount of damage like the MOSIN-NAGANT. It is a flame weapon, so on upgrade you get an incendiary mod which goes all the way to level 3, or you can choose recoil grip, which gives you way more control over this weapon. Now the magazine mod is what gets rid of that fear that everyone has with this weapon. Before, you would start with an 8-round clip which only reloads when it is empty. Now when you add the magazine mod, you can extend your clip all the way to 16 rounds, or you can stop at 12 and choose to have the magazine reloaded whenever you choose to. Now on the scope mod, it is a little better than the G43, which gives you a 4x to 8x, but on this weapon you get a 6x to 10x, which is great for getting those snipes at farther distances. Finally, you can choose the vampiric scope at the end, or the flame bayonet, which ignites the zombies when your rifle is fully charged. My final thoughts are that this is a pretty solid weapon. It does great damage and it stacks when you master it. All the nodes or mods are pretty solid, pretty significant, and as long as you can wrap your brain around the reload thing in the beginning, you'll definitely be fine using this weapon. Or you can just max it out with your upgrade kits before using it, whichever works for you. Finally, we have the MOSIN-NAGANT, which is by far the strongest rifle in the game. This is a bolt action rifle which on higher difficulty can be a little unforgiving. In the beginning, you start with 5 bullets, even though that won't change, and you have to rechamber a bullet after each shot. So if you're not really a fan of bolt action weapons, you might get a little annoyed, especially when trying to kill sniper zombies or heavies. Your mods, however, allows you to get explosive rounds, which can go all the way to level 3, or you can add level 2 explosives and a damage mod, which makes this weapon stupidly strong. If you think the rechambering of bullets was a problem, then this is what the magazine mod is for. You can add the bolt mod all the way up to level 3, which makes you fire this weapon at least 50 or 70% faster.
You're still down. Bruno must be going mad. Better hurry back then.
Or you can add the level 2 bolt mod and the reload mod, which is below that. This makes you reload your weapon faster while having crazy damage output. My final thoughts are that this is a very solid weapon. It does have its difficulties in the beginning, but the mods are designed to reduce those difficulties. This is the best rifle in the game, and I would highly recommend you use it. The first weapon we're going to talk about is the M30 Drilling, which is a very interesting and powerful shotgun. It has 3 12-gauge barrels for maximum damage output, and after modification, you have the strongest and most lethal close-range weapon in the game. This is a flame weapon, so you can have your incendiary mod all the way up to level 3, or you can stop at level 2 and use the sawn-off mod, which makes your shotgun shorter. This reduces the recoil, increases spread of the pellets, and also increases the reload speed. On the range, you will first add the gun sight up to level 2, which increases the range of your shots, and at level 3 you can either choose the trigger mod, which fires all 3 rounds on one trigger pull, or the flame bayonet, which ignites zombies when you melee them. Lastly, you can have your damage mod all the way up to level 3, which increases the amount of pellets within a shell, or you can choose to use high-powered slugs, which increases the accuracy of your shots, the range, and the dismemberment. My final thoughts are that this is one of the best close-range weapons in the game, very powerful and fun to use, especially when you use a sawn-off mod. The trigger mod is very fun also, but I would not recommend it for insane zombie slaying missions. It slows you down because you have to reload every time you fire your weapon, and using this mod also requires you to add the shotgun ammo pouch in your build, seeing that this mod burns through ammo very quickly. You have to ensure you hit all your shots, because if you miss, you just wasted 3 shotgun shells, and this is very important, especially when you are using high-powered slugs, because this makes your crosshair very small and tight, so accuracy is crucial for gameplay at this point. Next we have the MP44 assault rifle. This is your standard assault rifle. Pretty good fire rate, pretty good damage, very easy to use and very easy to master. This is an explosive weapon, so you can get your explosive mod all the way up to level 3, or you can stop at level 2 and use the semi-auto mod instead. Next up is the damage. This weapon is not the strongest before modification, but after you add the level 2 damage mod and master this weapon, the damage output is a lot more acceptable. At level 3, you can choose the extended magazine, which gives you 45 bullets in total per clip, or the heavy bayonet, which increases melee damage and a greater chance of knocking down zombies. Finally, under accuracy, you get level 2 grip, which increases the weapon accuracy and reduces the weapon recoil. At level 3, you can choose to add a regular scope or a vampiric scope. The choice is yours. My final thoughts on this weapon is that this weapon is pretty average and received probably the worst mods in my opinion. At the end of each mod tree, if you swap out the explosive level 3 for the semi-auto fire and add a scope, this weapon is more of a secondary sniper rather than something else. In the beginning, I thought this weapon had the most potential, but in the end, I was just not impressed with the mod tree, and this weapon is still pretty average. Next, we're going to talk about the THOMPSON machine gun, or the Tommy gun. This weapon was made famous by law enforcement and criminals in the past, and because of its high fire rate and comparatively low recoil, this gun is amazing at destroying just about anything in front of you. This is a divine weapon, so your divine mod go all the way to level 3, or you can just add the rapid fire mod, which makes this gun fire even faster. Here's an example of what I mean.
Better hurry back then.
With this weapon, you start with 20 rounds in your clip, but at level 3 you can add a drum magazine to this gun, which gives you a total of 60 rounds in a magazine. If you don't want to use that many bullets per clip, you can choose extended mag level 2 with 40 rounds and get the serrated bayonet, which increases melee damage and a chance of dismemberment. Finally, you get more damage from the damage mod up to level 2, and at level 3, you can either choose between level 3 grip, which increases the accuracy of your shots and reduces the recoil, or you can choose ammo attachment mod, which increases the durability of your ammo attachment. My final thoughts are that this is a very strong gun, maybe overpowered if you ask me, but very fun. You get a level 2 damage buff which stacks with mastery, and you deal double damage to every zombie with divine bullets. In multiplayer, you can also choose to heal your teammates with divine bullets. I really love this weapon, I really appreciate it, and it's always my first choice when I head out to slay zombies. The only problem I might add is that the very last node on the tree, ammo attachment, I can't say I understand it too well, because even though it's supposed to do something to my weapon when I add an attachment, I haven't really noticed any changes, so I just stick with the grip mod. But if you understand how that mod is used, please enlighten me down in the comment section. I'd really appreciate that. Now, the final secondary weapon we're going to discuss is the trench gun, which is not one of my personal favorites because you should realize by now that I still haven't mastered this weapon. It's a pretty okay weapon, I guess. This is an electric gun, so your electric mod goes all the way to level 3, or you can get level 2 and choose speed grip instead, which increases the rate of fire.
Better hurry back. Bruno must be going mad. Better hurry back.
You start with 5 shells in your shotgun, but you can upgrade it all the way to level 3, which will give you a total of 8 shells, or you can stop at level 2 with 7 shells and get the electric bayonet, which electrifies zombies when your weapon is fully charged, which is definitely an option for those of you who love to be up close and personal with the dead. Finally, your damage mod goes all the way to level 3, which increases the amount of pellets per shell. Or you can just switch to high-powered slugs, which makes your crosshair smaller and require greater accuracy on shots, but this makes your build very powerful. My final thoughts are that in the beginning, I wasn't a big fan of this weapon because I mostly play 4-player zombie setup, and that requires weapons of mass destruction, which I thought this weapon lacked. But after you upgrade this weapon, it has become pretty effective at destroying zombie hordes, and I think it's a weapon worth checking out. The first pistol we're going to discuss is the C96, which is nicknamed the broom handle or the German Luger. This is my favorite pistol and one of the funnest weapons to use. It is a flame weapon, so you get incendiary rounds all the way to level 3, or one of the more fun things would be keeping this weapon at level 2 and turn this pistol in a full automatic weapon. This weapon starts with 10 bullets, but in the magazine mod, you can get a drum magazine, which would give you a 30 bullets in your clip, which is great at mowing down zombie hordes. Next, you can choose between adding a damage mod level 3 or stop at level 2 and get the recoil grip, which is recommended when using full auto on this weapon. My final thoughts are that this is a very strong weapon. You definitely feel reassured when you have your back against the wall and your secondary weapon is out of bullets. All of the mods are very necessary to make this weapon a great one, but the very last node, which is the recoil grip, is definitely questionable because there isn't that big enough of a noticeable recoil, which would cause you to use this mod. So if you're a gamer who plays a lot of shooters, you can just go with the damage mod level 3 and store that weapon recoil in the back of your head so you can make the necessary adjustments during gameplay. For the M1911, I can't say it is as interesting as the C96, but it can definitely hold its own. This is a divine weapon, so you can upgrade your divine bullets all the way to level 3, or if you want to have some fun, you can add the second mod, which is a scope you put on your pistol to snipe zombies. Next, you can add an extended mag all the way to give you a total of 12 bullets, or you can keep it at 9 and use the barrel mod, which increases the shot range on your weapon. Finally, your damage mod stops at level 2, and you are given the option to add a bayonet or a grip to increase the accuracy of this weapon. My final thoughts are that this weapon is very strong due to the fact that it is a divine weapon, and you can certainly have some fun with it when you add the scope to change things up a bit. The only gun left to talk about is the WEDLEY MKVI, and this weapon is one of the stranger weapons in the pack. And the reason I say this is that most people would turn from this weapon simply because it's a 6-shooter, which is very slow and you might think it will hold you back. But in my opinion, and I say this Not because of feelings, but because of results. This is the strongest pistol in the game. This is an explosive weapon, so you can upgrade it all the way to level 3, or you can stop at level 2 and give this weapon some extra damage with this mod. In the second row, you can set your accuracy to level 3, or you can choose to use speed loader, which greatly increases your reload time. Finally, due to how hard this weapon kicks, you will need to add grip level 3 to reduce the recoil on this weapon, or you can stop at level 2 and add the bayonet because that is always an option. My final thoughts are that you need to try this weapon. That's all. So this was a look at all the weapons fully upgraded in Zombie Army 4. In our next video, we will be looking at all the perks at gold rank, so don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to see that video as soon as it goes live. And if you enjoyed this one, please smash that like button because it really helps. Other videos available are 6 ways to get an upgrade kit and which gun should you master first. Enjoy!